Hi there, it's nice to know you're back. In our previous class, I showed you some words that began with letter A, and among them we saw some regular and irregular verbs that begin with letter A, right? So now I will show you how to conjugate one of those regular verbs, right? The verb amar, the verb to love, right? Usually when kids are in class at school, the verb amar is one of the first verbs they learn to conjugate. So I thought it would be quite proper to start with this verb, okay? And if you remember that in the previous class I said that in Spanish we have two verbs for saying I love, for saying to love, okay? We have the verb amar and the verb querer, right? The difference between querer and amar both translate as to love in English. The difference is in the grade of or level of commitment, right? So the verb amar is to love with a greater commitment, okay? For example, we use amar when talking about the love between lovers, okay? Or kind of spiritual love, okay? Religious love or spiritual love or pure love among human beings, right? Or also a boyfriend and her and girlfriend, they love each other, a couple loves each other, okay? When talking about love among friends, among relatives, when somebody expresses appreciation or love to another person, friend usually, we use the verb querer, okay? It means to love, but with a lower level of commitment, okay? So, let's begin. Conjugación del verbo amar. Conjugación del verbo amar. Conjugation of the verb amar, or to love, okay? Remember that when talking of a masculine noun, when we say of the, right? In Spanish, of would be the word de, of, and the would be el, yes? Masculine, the. De el always is abbreviated like this, del, okay? As you can see here, right? So del means of the. It is an abbreviation. It is a must abbreviation of de el, right? So we'll conjugate in present tense, simple present, simple past or pasado, future. Gerundio is what we call in English the present continuous, and imperative, affirmative and negative imperative, okay? So why do we have two futures? Because in Spanish the common future or simple future is a conjugation that we do not have in English, okay? In English, however, when we use the future tense, we use the auxiliary verb will, and then we add the verb in infinitive, right? For example, the future of eat, we say I will eat, right? So in Spanish we have a unique conjugation for future tense, but then we can also use the future the same as in English, using an auxiliary verb and the verb in infinitive, right? So since for English speakers I think this one will be the easiest to remember and to use, I want to give you these two ways of conjugating the future in Spanish, okay? So remember, yo is I, tú is you, él, he, ella, she, nosotros is we, vosotros is you plural in Spain, right? Ustedes is the you plural that is used in Latin America, and ellos means they, right? And remember, vosotros and ustedes mean the same thing. They both mean you plural. One is used in Spain, the other one is used in Latin America. But ustedes conjugates the same as ellos, as they, okay? So you can see here, these two are always the same conjugation for all the verbs, okay? So let's begin with the present tense. Presente, presente. Yo amo, tú amas, él ama. Nosotros amamos, vosotros amáis, ustedes aman, and ellos aman. So let's see, which is the pattern here for the present tense for regular verbs. Look at this. If you remember, Spanish verbs are divided or classified into three groups. Those that end in AR, like this one, the verbs that end in ER, and the verbs that end in IR, right? So all the verbs are classified into one of those three big groups, right? So if we strip out the ending, right, AR in this case, the rest is what we call the root of the verb, right? In this case it is am, that's the root of this verb, the verb amar, to love. So for the present tense, we take the root of the verb and we add an O for first person, a yes for second person, right? This is a pattern that applies to all the regular verbs that belong to the group of verbs that end in AR, okay? Which is the biggest group of verbs. If you remember, if you go to my previous lessons, I dedicated some more than 20 lessons for showing how to conjugate all the verbs that end in AR, the ones that end in ER, and those that end in IR. So if you can go to those previous lessons and see the rule or the pattern for conjugating all the Spanish verbs for each of those three classifications. For the past, the pattern will be this, right? We always use the root of the verb and then we add this ending, okay? Right? This is for the simple past. So, if we want to conjugate any other regular verb of the group that ends in AR, like for example the verb hablar. Hablar means to speak. Then we will use the root of the verb hablar, which is habl, right? Because ar is the ending, right? So this is the root of the verb. We use the root of the verb and then we add all these endings that I have circled in green, okay? And there we have the conjugation, the proper conjugation. So, for the pasado, or simple past, we say yo amé, tú amaste, él amó, or ella amó, nosotros amamos, vosotros amasteis, ustedes amaron, ellos amaron. Okay? Now let's take a look at the future tense, right? This is the Spanish simple future. We will still use the root of the verb as usual, and this will be the ending that we will add for the future tense, right? For nosotros, for vosotros, and for ustedes,